Good morning, everyone. Looks like it's 10 o'clock on Monday, August 22nd. I'm gonna call the Nevada Resilience Advisory Committee to order. And we'll start off with item number 1 on the agenda, call to order and roll call.
David Fogerson,
Present.
Billy Samuels,
Present.
Andy Ancho,
Present.
Roy Anderson,
Present.
Travis Anderson, Noah Boyer,
Present.
Elizabeth Frieden, James Grizzly,
Present.
Jason Damon, Colonel Brett Compton,
Present.
Bob Denhart,
Present.
Kelly Echeverria,
Present.
Andrea S.,
Present.
Janine Freeman,
Here.
Mike Heidemann,
Present.
Eric Holt,
I'm here.
Graham Kent, Marianne LaFoon,
Present.
Chris Lake, Carolyn Levering,
Here.
Ryan Miller,
Present.
Tennille Pereira,
Present.
Matthew Peterson,
I am here.
Misty Robinson, Rachel Skidmore,
Present.
Corey Zolfarino,
Here.
Rachel Marchetti,
Present.
Carrie Underwood,
Present.
Mike Wilson,
Present.
Stephanie Woodard, Bunny Bishop,
Present.
Rebecca Bernard, Melissa Friend, Maura Howenstein, Casey, Sylvie Marks,
Here.
Catherine Nielsen, you have quorum.
Okay, I think Liz Breeden's showing up. Liz, are you here?
Yes. Liz Breeden for the record.
Thank you, ma'am. I think Chris Lake just showed up too. Chris, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Perfect. Thanks, sir.
Travis Anderson showed up too.
And Travis Anderson. Perfect. Any other committee members show up and didn't have your name called?
Don Pelt from Pyramid Lake is on. I got on late.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Okay, we'll go to item number 2. This is public comment. This is discussion only. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under this item of the agenda until the matter itself has been specifically included on the agenda as an item upon which action may be taken. I always have to slow down to say that sentence. Public comments may be limited to 3 minutes per person at discretion of the chair. Comments will not be restricted on viewpoint. If you are calling in on the phone, make sure you hit *6 to unmute yourself. Again, *6 to unmute yourself. I'll first see if there's any public comment here in Carson.
There is none written or none on YouTube.
Okay, there's no public comment that's been presented to us ahead of time. Any public comment on Zoom? Okay, any public comment for anyone on the phone? *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, hearing no public comment, we'll move to item number 3. This is approval of the minutes. Discussion, possible action. The committee will discuss and review the minutes from May 31st, 2022 committee meeting. Committee may determine whether to approve the meeting minutes. Those should have been sent out with your packets. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? Does anybody see any changes necessary in them? If not, I'll take a motion for approval.
Christopher Lake, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Okay, a first from Chris. Do we have a second from anyone?
Eric Holt.
Andrea.
Second from Eric Holt. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions?
Chief Overson, Jeannie Freeman for the record. I abstain. I was absent at the last meeting.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, we'll move on to item number 4. Actually, I am going to take one thing out of order here, and I want to give that speaker a heads up. We're going to take number 13, which is the tribal update with Josie. We'll move her up to number 5 on the agenda after this update from our EOD teams. So that way Josie's got some time to not be put directly on the spot. So we'll move to item number 4 next. This is update on the state of Nevada bomb squads and Washoe County Explosive Ordnance Disposal Team with Noah Boyer from the Washoe County Sheriff's Office Consolidated Bomb Squad. He's going to report to us on how the Homeland Security Grant Program funds are used to support the state of Nevada bomb squads and the Washoe County Explosive Ordnance Disposal Team.
Thank you, Chief. Noah Boyer here from Washoe County Sheriff's Office. Thank you for the opportunity to give you guys a presentation on how not only HSGP, UASI, and the Department of Emergency Management have helped our bomb squads. So we just wanted to, thank you for the opportunity, first of all. So as we're working through the slides here, so moving to the next slide, we've had quite a bit of turnover since the last time that we've given a presentation on the bomb squads. So what I wanted to do is kind of give that overview of how bomb squads work in Nevada. So we have 4 bomb squads. We have Consolidated Bomb Squad based out of Reno, Tahoe Douglas, based out of Douglas County, Elko out in Elko, and then Las Vegas down in the south with Las Vegas Fire Rescue. Between the 4 bomb squads, we cover 11 different agencies. Some of these agencies' participation is more at the level, so like University Police Services, they provide us 2 explosive detection canines here in the north. And then also out in Elko, they've now expanded to include Elko County Sheriff's Office. They're adding a bomb tech to that agency. And then also down at the bottom, we have Federal Bureau of Investigations and Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms. Those partners are kind of all encompassing throughout the state. So FBI has bomb techs located in Las Vegas, Reno, and Elko. And then ATF has a bomb tech located down in Las Vegas. So total throughout the state, we have 41 public safety bomb technicians. And with those 4 bomb squads and all of those bomb techs, we're responding to about 60 calls per year. And those increase and decrease kind of out of whim. Through COVID, we saw this massive decrease. And then now I will say that we are back more than ever with our call outs. The special events that we are on standby for or conducting sweeps at, in Reno alone, we have 200 between May and December each year. And then obviously Las Vegas has a significant amount as well. As far as the training aspect of it, to meet our minimum number of training hours set forth by the national guidelines, you're looking at just shy of 13,500 hours that we have to put in. So we have a pretty robust training program that we have to keep up with as well. If you want to move to the next slide for me. So bomb squads in the state of Nevada, and there's a lot of words on this slide, sorry, but our NRS is pretty detailed. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version of it. So bomb squads were held to NRS 476, which lists out the duties of not only the bomb squads, but the bomb techs, as well as the bomb squad commanders that we have. Looking at NRS 476 180, it's our bread and butter. Number one is what everyone knows us for, which is make safe any area or remove from any area your IEDs, your explosives, or incendiary devices. Moving down the list pretty quick, you get to number 8, which is maintain our professional training and liaisons with all of our state partners, our law enforcement entities, our military partners, and then our federal agencies, as well as professional associations. And then number 10 down there, it says we have to do outreach training, which we do, in fact, right now in Idaho, which is beautiful, I might add, with helping 92nd CST. We have members from Department of Emergency Management, Las Vegas Armor, Las Vegas Bomb Squad, and FBI. We're up here doing a joint training in a pretty unique opportunity. But with that, we also do our outreach training programs in various ways. Las Vegas Bomb Squad does some outreach with CISA training programs. Up in the north, we do a partnership with Washoe County Emergency Management and some outreach with Jessica Adams to our various public partners, whether it's Child Protective Services, code enforcement, our entities that go into different residences or businesses. We give them an educational class on homemade explosives and precursors and safety measures and stuff like that. So we're meeting that requirement with those different programs that we're participating in. If you want to go to the next slide for me. So post 9/11, bomb squads got a lot of support. We were part of that big CBRN push. We're fortunate enough to be that E in the CBRN acronym. Post 9/11, we saw a lot of support from HSGP and UASI with funding. If you look back, we were able to stand up Elko's bomb squad with over $1 million that came out of HSGP in 1 year. Looking back through my records, in 06, 07, the Consolidated Bomb Squad got $600,000 alone. That's how we were able to purchase our large response vehicle, as well as our total containment vessel, as well as Las Vegas and Tahoe Douglas along the way have also received a lot of support through HSGP and UASI funding. We also saw the requirements change. To be a bomb tech now, you actually have to be a hazmat tech first. Although I don't know of a bomb tech that we have here that will say that they're a hazmat tech. We will leave that up to our hazmat partners because they do it way better than us. But we're looking at 21 years since September 11th. And since that time, there's been a lot of advances in training. We've seen a lot of advances in equipment. But we're at a point now that, a lot of this equipment is approaching that 20-year mark. And post September 11th, HSGP was looking at like a $20 million budget, and now we're looking at like a $3 million budget. So the bomb squads got together, and we had to figure out a way that we could maintain that same level of equipment and proficiency in training, operating on the $3 million that comes to HSGP now versus the $20 million we saw then. So if you go to the next slide for me. Todd Moss, before he left, talks started in 2018, but really kind of came to fruition in 2019. Todd wanted to get back together as a state. There was a couple years there where we kind of, everyone was doing their own thing. And although we were getting equipment and we were getting training, it was kind of all over the place. So Todd wanted to bring us back together to kind of have this unified front. With only 4 bomb squads in the state covering the geographical area that we do, we needed to have this one approach to all of it. We had the Nevada Bomb Squad Association. We dissolved that, created the Nevada Bomb Squad Task Force. It just made it a lot easier administratively to function that way. But with that group, we brought all 4 bomb squads together, and we wanted to develop joint training and kind of a joint platform for equipment so that when we do come together on our larger scale incidents, everyone knows what equipment we're working with. Everybody has the same training. And the big thing is we wanted to be better stewards of our funding that we're getting from HSGP and UASC down in Las Vegas. So if you now, when we get together usually at the beginning of a year, and we figure out who has what needs as far as equipment, and we figure out a training platform that we want to push. And that's why if you look back for the last couple of years, the bomb squads have kind of taken one bomb squad will kind of ask for a larger ask, and other bomb squads will take a step back. Just so that way we're not all coming to the table asking for the same equipment at the same time, and it becomes quite burdensome when we look at the dollar number. And then as well as the training, we're looking at focusing both in the north and the south, moving it around and getting everybody on the same page. For 1 week of training, it costs us about $25,000 to $35,000 for a bomb squad. So when we're looking at our specialized training, so if we're able to diversify that and get bomb techs from all over, we can get more bang for our buck. No pun intended. We're also trying to use so NCAT is a database that all bomb squads have to participate in, and it identifies areas that you can improve on when it comes to training and equipment to address certain weaknesses, if you will. So we're using that as kind of a barometer to identify where we need to focus our equipment and training to make sure that we're hitting the benchmarks and meeting our national requirements when it comes to skills and abilities for bomb squads. Next slide, please. So when we reorganized under kind of the Nevada task force, one thing that we wanted to do is diversify our capabilities. Bomb squads we've had a very narrow scope when it comes to explosives and using our robots for explosives, using our testing equipment for explosives. And at the end of the day, those things can be used for a lot more. And we wanted to make sure that we were developing good partnerships with our hazmat entities, our tactical elements, our hostage negotiation teams, and showing them what we can offer to help them to make it safer when they're doing their jobs. So right now, anytime the SWAT teams are called out in Northern Nevada, we're an automatic assist with them. So we'll show up. If there's an application for robots, we'll use them. We can open doors, we can perform reconnaissance. As far as the hostage negotiation side of it, we can deliver LRADs, we can deliver throw phones, and we're not putting people at risk, and we're doing it from the safety of a bomb truck, which is typically climate controlled, which helps. And then now we've worked more with our hazmat partners. Currently, the Consolidated Bomb Squad have performed 3 separate trainings now with Triad, and then we're pushing forward with another round of training here in September. And to truly show that yes, we have our defined lanes when it comes to certain calls, but there might be calls where we have this overlap, and we really need to work together. With anything in public safety, when someone calls 911 and they don't care about jurisdictional boundaries, they don't care about politics that's in place, they just want help and they want it now. And we want to be able to do that to the best level that we can. And that means that we may need to cross work with our other partners in public safety. And next slide, please. So moving forward, when we look at the Resilience Committee and how we've gotten support, and the big support that we get from that is the HSGP funding and UASC funding that our partners down in the South get. But there's also, we get the support from the Department of Emergency Management and helping our rural partners. When we had an opportunity to give a presentation at the Rural Emergency Management Conference in Fallon in June, And we asked them, hey, raise your hand if you have a bomb squad that will help you. And none of them raised their hand. And that was something that we made sure and educated them on, that every square mile in this state has a bomb squad that will respond. If you need assistance from a bomb squad, whether you go through the Department of Emergency Management or you call us directly, we have a duty to respond. It's written in our agreement with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, who oversees bomb squads, that 1, for a call out, we can't charge, and 2, that we'll go. And if we can't go, that we're going to find an entity that can. And oftentimes that is funneled through Department of Emergency Management, and they've done a great job supporting us. And when they have call outs that they need assistance with, they might not get the right bomb squad that covers that area, but we'll point them in the right direction. And it doesn't matter where you're at in our state, we'll come and we'll help. So that support that we get from DEM is crucial. When we look at our training and our regional training, here in September, we have a task force based training that we're hosting at the Consolidated Bomb Squad Range. Not only are we having our state of Nevada bomb squads, we're also having some come over from California, as well as extending invites to our military partners from out at Fallon. We want to continue pushing those regional trainings, working with our hazmat partners to just make it easier for our calls for service. When it comes to the equipment side of it, we have identified some gaps that we have, and some of that is aging equipment, some of it is new equipment that's out there, but we're trying to make it threat driven. How can we take the all threats approach and get the equipment that we need, but also be fiscally responsible with it? Do we need 4 total containment vessels that are all Seaburn rated in Northern Nevada? Maybe we do, maybe we don't, but we need to make sure that we're doing justice with our money and not just buying equipment that's going to sit in a parking lot and not be used. And then we want a continued outreach for our education. Las Vegas, in the partnership with CISA and DHS, is developing a great program down there that's on a national level. We're actually trying to bring that to the north to help provide some continuity in education and training. But we just want to make sure that we're fulfilling the obligation that we have to get that training out there. In Washoe County, we're continuing our outreach with our homemade explosives, as well as just safety when it comes to old explosives that are found in mines, as well as the blasting caps that we run into quite frequently out here. And then also based off of that, the outreach that we did with the rural emergency managers, we want to continue that and expand. We definitely found out through that training that there's some gaps with that. And we want to make sure that all of our law enforcement agencies are properly educated on responding to suspicious packages, old explosives, or the unknown that might be out there, and understanding the overlap that we have with our hazmat partners and what we can help them with. And with that, hopefully that was quick, down and dirty. That's what I was aiming for. I will take any questions.
Thank you, Sergeant, very much. Nice summary of the cooperation between all the different bomb teams in the state. I think it's important as we consider the new Reno Clear team, the CST, Armor, and then the bomb teams, plus the various hazmat teams we got together. The great partnerships that we're developing that have always been in place, but you're really trying to push harder through Chief Moss's efforts a couple of years ago. Any questions for Sergeant Boyer? Okay, seeing none.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir. We'll move on to, I'm going to take item number 13 out of order. And item 13 is updates from the PM Homeland Security Tribal Liaisons, discussion only. Josie Burnett and Jay Martin, our tribal liaisons, will provide the committee with updates on the Region 9 Tribal Conference that was just held last week, and then the Nevada Conference that was held about a month or two ago in Fallon. Josie, are you on?
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. For the record, Josie Burnett. We had our Nevada Tribal Community Resilience Development Workshop that was in Fallon back in June, June 8th. We reviewed grant fundamentals, disaster planning, mitigation, cybersecurity awareness, and then we also had a psychological first aid training. Overall, we had a really great turnout. We had around 30 participants. We received some really good feedback. Most of our tribes would like more, would like to go more in depth in additional workshops on each of the topics that we covered. It was more or less, this workshop was kind of getting our feet wet, seeing what each of our tribes' interests and needs were, so that we could better meet their wants and needs in the future, in future workshops to come. And then last week, we attended FEMA Region 9's tribal workshop, which was in Reno. This included tribes and partners from Arizona, California, and Nevada. We had a really great turnout there as well. We had a handful of tribes from Nevada that attended. Overall, we had some great conversations. There were, while we did attend some of the individual breakout sessions that explored some of the topics in more detail, we did have a really nice tribal working lunch specific to Nevada, where we discussed our upcoming DEM workshops coming up in the various counties. We talked a lot about developing Turk teams, and our tribes were basically expressing their concerns regarding, their lack of staff with each tribe not being trained, and, just kind of getting into the emergency management positions themselves. So DEM really, we expressed the importance of being there for each of our tribes, how to expand everybody's skills and knowledge to make sure that we're meeting everybody's needs. Each tribe had interest in developing various emergency management plans. They're interested in different grant applications and taking any learning opportunities that they can. And then me and Jay, we're really looking forward to touring our tribal communities beginning now and into the fall to kind of assess each tribe's needs and how we can better assist them and support them. That's the end of my brief. If anybody has any questions, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Josie. Any questions, comments, concerns, or ideas for Josie? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to item number 5. This is discussion on the status of the Nevada Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security's effort to assist our partners. We're interested in hearing feedback on the status of DEM programs that relate to protection, preparedness, response, mitigation, recovery efforts, emergency management, and Homeland Security. Members are encouraged to discuss ways that we can improve our efforts to better support your needs. You'll notice I've been sending out a lot of emails to people just checking to see how things are going. And I put this on a meeting a couple of meetings ago. I just want to check back in to see how the temperature is, to make sure that we're headed in a direction that helps support our local and tribal partners, and that everyone's getting what they need from us. And obviously, if you have something specific or an employee related concern, let's talk offline, but love to hear any ideas about how we can be better to help you guys.
Chief Overson, this is Jeannie Freeman for the record.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I think there's been a lot of things that have occurred in the last couple of years, between fires and pandemics and things of that sort. It'd be really helpful. I know that I know DEM has done their after action reports or they're in the process of doing. There's a lot of things that have happened, and there's improvement plans. It would be nice to have this group updated on the status of those improvement plans. You put them together and we have timelines of what's an opportunity for that improvement, who's going to be responsible for that. It'd just be nice to have sort of a status update from time to time on what we've learned and where we've taken it and how far we've gotten. And then if there's anything that the local partners can do to help support DEM in those efforts, then make sure that we're engaged in that as well, because we learn from you, you learn from us, but sometimes we can't even do the improvement plan process unless we're doing it collectively. So it'd be nice to have those updates as well.
Absolutely, that's a good idea. Talk to Rodney right about putting that on our next agenda, because we do have the IPs, not just for COVID, but for all the exercises and events we've done. So it'd be good to daylight those a little better and make sure that we're on the page. Any other ideas on how we can help you do your jobs better?
Chief Noah Boyer here. I just want to give a huge shout out to the grant staff. We have been run into a lot of hurdles. We have been we got awarded funds for a first out vehicle back in 2020. And if you would have told me in 2019 that we were getting quotes, the amount of issues that I would have run into with the automobile industry and getting a car spec'd out back then, I probably would not have chose to do it then. But the grant staff has been amazing when it comes to helping with the PCRs that need to be made, because we've had to jump through so many hurdles to make sure that we get a vehicle on the road to respond to calls for service before the end of the grant cycle. They've been a tremendous help with that, Samantha and her crew.
Awesome, thank you, Sergeant. It's nice to hear. Anyone have anything else that we can use to improve ourselves with?
All right, Dave, Jeannie Freeman for the record.
Go ahead, Deputy Director.
Not quite yet. I got another couple weeks. I think the other thing is sometimes we come forward with reports and things and we show what happens like on social media. Everything looks like it's pretty and it's rainbows and ponies, and it doesn't look like there's anything that's potentially a struggle, and not necessarily that it's aired in a public meeting, but I do think that it's important for transparency and for all agencies to be genuine in their response, that when there's struggles, that if there's the need, that the struggles are shared, and to what a level that would make sense, but how that can be aided in other ways. We all don't live on our own islands, but we're all connected, and if there's a struggle with you all, there's a struggle with us, and if there's a struggle with us, then it impacts you. So if there's things that we can do related to that and not just keep it all rainbows, unicorns, and ponies, then I think that would help as well.
Perfect, thank you, ma'am. Obviously, my door's always open, my email's always open, my phone's always on, same with John. So if you don't want to say anything here, but have an idea that we can do something better, we're all ears to make sure that we're responsive to the needs of our community. With that, I'm going to close out that agenda item unless somebody else goes off on mute while I'm talking here. And it doesn't look like anybody is. So we're going to move to item number 6. This is the California Office of Emergency Services and DEM's information exchange session. John Backdahl, who's on vacation today in Hawaii and will not be with us, gave me a written report here to read aloud to talk about what we've been doing between California and Nevada and our efforts to collaborate in the future. So back in April, Jared, John, and I went over and visited with Cal OES in their office. Spent about 4 hours with them to introduce the leadership between the two organizations, discuss current historical and future interactions. We were really focused on that bi-state interactions because of Caldor, Tamarack, and then Snowmageddon that occurred in South Lake Tahoe and closed down right over Christmas and New Year's. I-80, US 50, and US 88 trapping the motorists at the lake in a humanitarian effort that NDOT had to get engaged with to fix. Some good feedback from that meeting we had with them was we agreed to meet with both staffs to discuss the after action report from the Caldor fire and the bi-state ESF relationships. We established an annual executive staff meeting rotating to each state's operations center. And right now we're working on developing a sheltering agreement between California and Nevada and kind of outlay who is responsible for what parts should that ever have to be done again. And then we're working with both of us are working with our federal delegations to treat wildland fire more like a hurricane. So that way we get funding to move resources and that kind of stuff. Then we're able to, in June, meet with DEM, OES, and some of our key ESF partners. And we brought along Washoe County Emergency Management, and we brought along the American Red Cross up at Incline. And we spent about 6 hours that day talking between how we do things, the Caldor fire and the Tamarack incident, and then Snowmageddon, and how all that worked out, how it went for each agency and each side. And we found that we have at least 5 things we do very common in operations. So it was nice to find that common operating picture to start from. We're going to continue to practice assigning a liaison officer from one state to the other anytime we do have any potential bi-state impact. Whenever we have activations, we both agreed that we would send staff to the other state in order to shadow and see how they do operations. That way we can learn from each other and see how things work best. We've decided to do some additional EMAC, the Emergency Management Assistance Compact, training, exercise, and coordination. So that way we can fine tune that a lot. The only thing we really have used EMAC for in the past with California has been for wildland fire apparatus, or like search and rescue dogs, and during a wildland fire. And so the Snowmageddon and then the sheltering thing was brandy new to how to use EMAC for it. And really on the West Coast, it was a new occurrence for sheltering across state lines. In the South, they obviously do that a lot for hurricanes, but on the West Coast, we don't have much experience there. So we're going to work some more on that. We're working on a sheltering plan and state support to our locals. We kind of both agreed that the sheltering operation is a local government responsibility, not a state, but we got to be there to help support, especially when you're getting people from one state to another or multiple counties are engaged. So that way we can help our local partners, but not try to take over from them. Established a semi-annual meeting to include at our state conferences with tangible goals and outcomes. That way we can actually continue the relationship we built. And this is the next one we want to do is going to be hopefully down in Southern Nevada. We want to do Arizona, California, Nevada, and then San Bernardino County and Clark County, and have that discussion on the I-15 corridor and all the issues that are there along those 3 borders between our 3 states. And then we're sharing our emergency managers list and ESF lists from one state to the other. In fact, we assigned our ESF partners last month to reach out and call their ESF equal in California, so that way they know each other. And then the training, I believe, is tomorrow morning for our ESFs. They're going to report back on whether they accomplished that or not, so that way we can ensure that we build those relationships. And then we took a chance during the Region 9 Tribal Conference. We had California, Nevada, and Arizona all present, and we talked about how we assist our tribes. California has some struggles with their tribal relationships that DM probably did have a while ago, but have worked through with between the ITCN, the ITURC, and now the INTEC and the 2 state tribal liaisons and our FEMA tribal liaison that we have. And so we're sharing best practices with them, talking to them about our stumbling blocks and how it worked out best. We're going to try to schedule a tribal liaison meeting between the 2 states and see what we can do for some bi-state interactions there. Because we have to remember that the tribes are sovereign nations, but they might go across both states. So we got to find out how we best work with those partners to make sure that they get their needs taken care of from whoever can do it best for them. And then we're engaging FEMA and our other neighboring states and sharing our successes and pitfalls during from the preparedness workshops we're doing this fall. Both Arizona and California were very excited to want to hear how those workshops that we're hosting this fall go, so that way they can see what they want to do from there. So that is the update on our Cal OES and DEM discussions. It's been nice to have 3 meetings in the scope of 5 months and try to improve where we were standing with them before, and first seek to understand them, so that way we can figure out how to make our processes work better with them when we're on those bi-state missions. And it's been a very enjoyable process. Their deputy director for response, Ed Westfall, has been extremely helpful, helped me with a problem that Billy Samuels had a couple weeks ago regarding I-15 and lottery tickets. And it's been really nice to establish those relationships. Does anyone have any questions or ideas on the Cal OES, DEM, and hopefully Arizona discussions?
Chief,
Go
for the
ahead.
record. Oh.
Go ahead, Jeannie.
Sorry, Chief. Question, many of those issues, and we have highways that California into Nevada that cross into Douglas and Carson City as well. Unsure about where those emergency managers invited to those meetings as well. Just wanted to make sure, since we do have some pretty significant highways that come from the California side into us as well. I know 80 is the main thoroughfare, especially with the trucks and so forth, but just wondering if those other two counties were invited to those.
California does not want to engage the counties in the discussions yet. They want to just keep it state to state. I snuck in Washoe County to kind of have another voice at the table with us. So
Okay.
hopefully as we move forward, those will progress, but because that was the original intent, was to get all the border counties together, the two states, and that didn't come to fruition.
Okay, thank you. I know that the border counties are doing there's another group that the border counties are getting together and having those conversations and so forth. I just wasn't sure where that other piece was. So thank you.
Can you send me the invite for that? I've lost that since I got into the state. I want to make sure that someone from DEM's on that for us.
Yes, sir. I believe Rodney Wright is on them, but I will
Okay.
make sure you get it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you.
Kelly Echeverria for the record. Dave, do you think that at the next meeting, there might be an opportunity to include some Quad County representation?
I am all for it. It's just whether I can get California to agree to it or not.
Well, they brought like 60 people to that meeting. So what's another onesie twosie from Nevada?
Absolutely. Chief Samuel?
Hey, Chief. So I just want to, kind of make sure I'm voicing my opinion in a professional way. And it almost feels as if, you're going from state to state with, it's almost more just the northern that it's affecting. I don't know how many other counties, but we go 50 miles into California on a daily basis for mutual aid. So I would really hope that, that really affects Clark County as a whole, taking care of a lot of their residents and their populations. So to not kind of include Clark, I kind of may feel a little snubbed today, especially for the thing that you saw last couple of times. We're responding into California 10 times a day. So I think there's something needs to be addressed. There was kind of a lack of communication when it came to if they were going to send anyone to help, and they never did, to the point where Nevada Highway Patrol or Nevada Public Safety actually went across state lines and talked to those businesses. So I think there needs to be some discussions. And, also with Arizona down here, we had a tornado touchdown yesterday. You would just think that Clark County would be involved a little bit more if, we can get some counties in there.
100%, Billy. This first one was using those 3 incidences that we had after action reports on to try to drive the conversation. In the past, they just met with the DM chief, the state forester, and the highway patrol chief just for a couple hours every year. So we tried to expand this to include the counties and use those 3 actual incidents in northern Nevada and try to drive that we need to do the same thing down in the south. So that way we involve Clark County, Arizona, Mojave County, San Bernardino County. Same issue down there that exists up here. It's just, I get 37 employees, so it's a little easier for us to be a little nimble to help fix things. They have 1,700 employees, so they take a little time to think about what they want to do and how they want to do it.
I would also think you would include Utah, sir, since Mesquite will go to St. George Medical Center versus coming into Vegas. So I think Utah needs to be a big player in that as well.
Utah, Idaho, and Oregon as well. All of our bordering states, we're trying to work on that relationship issue that has never really existed very well. Our first bite of the apple was California, because that seems to be our bigger place to move people in and out of, then Arizona, and then we're going to work around to Utah, and then we'll come back to Idaho and Oregon as well.
Thank you, sir.
On the list. Absolutely, sir. Any other comments, questions, concerns, or ideas regarding that? Okay, we'll move to item number 7. This is impacts of the Health Information Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA, on post-incident reunification. INRAC will discuss the impacts of HIPAA protection on protected health information and need for sharing of the most minimum data set post-incident to assess the reunification. Obviously, this came up during the 1 October event and continues to kind of hither and yon on changes to HIPAA, new people coming in and out of various organizations. So I wanted to have a discussion here. Billy and I have been talking about it, and Chris Lake and I have been talking about it. on a routine enough basis to see how to maybe address it legislatively next year a little better than what we currently have. We do have an NRS that the State Disaster Identification Coordinating Committee is responsible to get that data. And I want to try to find a way in the NRS where it doesn't come to me as a state, but we can get it to the local government where it should belong. So that way we're not engaged into what should be a local issue for that victim reunification process. So wanted to open up for the group, make sure that everyone knows we're talking about this, we're working on it. We had Sam Laddick do some legal research, and she actually talked to the Nevada or the National Emergency Managers Association conference of lawyers, and they all perked up in interest because it doesn't sound like any other states really cracked this nut very well either. All the other emergency management lawyers were very interested and are actually going to be looking for a discussion at their October conference about it to see how we do it. So ideas, thoughts, concerns?
Chief, this is Jeannie Freeman for the record. I commend DEM for doing this and having this discussion and looking into this further. This certainly has been a challenge for a number of years, and we've seen it a challenge in every response that has happened outside of our state. We even saw it with the responses that have happened inside of our state. And I think that when this comes to fruition, certainly the education piece around it will be a huge element, and not just with partners, but having it incorporated into the educational elements that are happening in nursing schools and med schools, dental programs, everything that we would be looking at HIPAA being involved with, behavioral health as well. Because when we think about it, it's every time we turn around, we get the HIPAAs thrown at us, and it's kind of that stand all, and people tend to back down. And it's not necessarily, it's what do you need in order to do the job that's in front of you. And that's what the intent is behind the law, and yet the protection of it. And so I'm excited about this. I think it's a longer journey. It's definitely going to be the tortoise approach rather than the hare approach. But I'm willing to stand with you and work on this because I think it's critical to the success of any response, and also the recovery associated with it.
Thank you, ma'am. Because I think it's twofold, and Carrie, Billy, and I were talking about this a while ago. Part of it is management of expectations of what type of information that the hospital might have, because obviously if we're looking at a large trauma, they might not show up with clothing, they might not show up with identification, so it could be difficult for the hospital to know anything besides a 35-year-old male that is at their facility. And so some of it's management of expectations on our behalf of the information we get, and some of it is that how do we make sure we get that minimum set of data so that way we can make sure we reunify families. So if anybody has any thoughts on that, please feel free to reach out. So that way we can see what we do next legislative session and work on that. Seeing nothing else, I'll move on to item number 8. Item number 8, school safety plans. This is a discussion only with Megan Hall. Ms. Hall will update the committee on the status of school safety plans as received, required by NRS 388.243. And the committee will hear on how many plans were received in the process for their review. Megan?
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to try to leave my video on. I am traveling back from New Mexico right now, so if I get a little broken up or we have some issues, I'll turn that back off, and hopefully we won't have any kind of issues. With that being said, in your charter school and private school compliance with the requirements of NRS 388.243 and NRS 394.1687 for the 2022 school year. I'm not going to read through this for you. That's part of why it is in the report, but I am going to go ahead and talk about some of the highlights and some of the things that aren't in this report. This report is combined from 2 different reports that were sent to the superintendent of public instruction, which one was issued previously, and we had one outstanding plan at that point in time. However, that plan had been received, so we went ahead and updated that original report. Overall, 100% of the schools in Nevada did turn in their plan, whether that be at the level of the district or the charter school or private school level. We did receive all expected plans, which was a total of 234. All 17 county school districts were received by the deadline, which in NRS is July 1st. So that is wonderful news. We have a detailed list kind of lining out what schools did not meet that 1st of July deadline and the dates associated with those submissions. We're hoping that by starting this process and bringing this to the attention of the Department of Education, that we can continue to work together to improve these processes and the procedures that we use in collecting and analyzing all of these plans. Department of Education and I have worked very many hours together and making sure that we're executing this process well and to what is best for the schools or those students that are within those schools. As we all know, school safety is a big issue with all of the active shooter events and the social media challenges that lead to vandalism and criminal cases. So we really are putting a focus and bolstering this process in this program. And part of that is the implementation of an interdisciplinary review committee, which will be between DEM, Department of Education, and DHHS. So all the agencies have bought in to kind of co-lead this review process. So we are currently going through NRS and all of the requirements that schools are expected to adhere to when they're making these emergency operations plans, and standardizing a review so that every school will get the same review of their materials based on those requirements for that year. With that being said, to do and review 234 plans every single year would be an extreme burden, even with an interdisciplinary committee. So we have determined that the best path forward is to target 20% of submissions every year and ensure that each school gets a review at least once over a period of 5 years. So these will be random reviews that are done by the committee, in which we will randomly select different schools or districts each year to do a review and making sure that we're putting eyes on those plans. Now, with that interdisciplinary review committee, every year we will be inviting professionals that mirror what is required in school committees and emergency operation plan development committees by NRS. So that includes law enforcement, fire, mental health, and really getting subject matter experts in to help look at these plans to make sure that our students are as safe as they can be and that our schools and our districts are really prepared to handle anything that happens, because we all know it's not a matter of if it's going to happen in Nevada, it's when it happens in Nevada. And we really want to get a step forward in making sure everybody understands the roles and how these kind of responses should really work, or start guiding in making sure those plans are in place so that we can have the best responses possible. With that, I will answer any questions that anybody may have.
Andrea, go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, hey Megan, thank you so much for that update. And I'm really glad to hear that there's going to be an interdisciplinary team that's going to help review some of these plans. I know this last year with some updates to the requirements in NRS and what they were really brought health to the table, making it a requirement. Now, we struggled in Washoe County. We reached out to every school, phone and email every month for that calendar or for that fiscal year with really low compliance. We only helped or assisted with 15 schools out of 48. With that, the Washoe County School District was grouped as one. Some of the charters were grouped as one because their plan is very similar with slight modifications for each one. So I would like to see how we could better help assist with that, to make sure that when we're providing guidance, that we're also making sure they're hitting all the requirements and really getting them better engaged with local emergency management and along with like behavioral health and EM at the table, because there's a lot of work that we can do on the front end and helping them that should ease the burden at the state level. So yeah, your guys are going through and checking boxes, but shouldn't have to be giving as much guidance, and that we're really helping provide that here at the local level. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. I appreciate what you guys are doing. I'd like to see how we could better assist, because us reaching out wasn't very successful. And we tried really hard and just couldn't get people to the table or respond to us in any capacity. So
That's a wonderful point, Andrea, and I'm really glad that you brought that up. One of the things that my goal with Department of Education, we hand in hand agree that there absolutely needs to be better planning. We did start a school emergency management forum, which we have at the I think the highest of the 5 meetings we've had so far is about 300 people on that meeting. So those are getting great participation. And we're going to start highlighting some of these things that are required to be in these EOPs. So part of what this interdisciplinary review committee is going to do, the 20% of submissions comes from statistical analysis. When you start looking at data and things like that and measuring how much compliance you have in certain aspects or others, you really need a good data set to build that off of. So that's where the 20% comes from. DEM and NDE, or I should say the Interdisciplinary Review Committee, here late fall, after we've been able to finalize the standardized review process and format to be able to put out a report looking at NRS requires you to work with these partners, or it requires you to address these specific situations and whether these are actually getting addressed in these plans or not. So that is one of our big goals, is to start shedding light from this review committee side of things in order to help these schools and help the school districts get better. And you're absolutely correct. The requirements for public school districts, charter schools, private schools, they all have a little bit of difference to them. And that's something that we're hoping to address here in the future. So we're trying to get there, and we're really trying to start bringing improvement and shedding some light on some ways that we can start closing gaps, start building that pre-disaster networking to what it really should be.
And Andrea, you bring up a pretty good gap there, because NRS does require them to work with the fire department, the emergency manager, and the law enforcement, and then it puts the onus up on us and NDE to do the review of those plans at the state level. But the most of those requirements in that plan are actually behavioral health, safe school type stuff for the health side of things. So probably seeing about maybe next session putting something in there, they're going to work with their local health authority as well and make it all clear for that. And a question for you too is, are you dealing with Roy Anderson in Washington County School District since he's our emergency manager?
oh yeah, that's easy. That's a non-issue. He's great. They work well with us on top of everything. But it does require, when the SB 36 went through, it did change NRS to require that the District Board of Health is also part of that review committee. And so we really pushed that to try to get people to get us to the table. But like I said, we're not successful. And we did join that forum that you were talking about, Megan. We did join, I think just the last one that took place at the end of the fiscal year. And so we were trying to, again, just make our names more known so people would respond to emails or phone calls when we left them.
Which is awesome. I'm really glad that you guys have joined that. Laura Hutchinson at the Department of Education and I really want that forum to kind of be a catalyst for pre-disaster networking, open communication between not just school to school or district to district, but really starting to help build a network between all of these professionals. So if there's ever anything you want to address, please reach out to her and I, and we'll make sure that you get some meeting time on that.
Perfect. Good stuff going on there in Washoe County. At least good efforts. Until we get 100% compliance, everyone playing along. That'll be I think the good stuff. Any other questions for Megan? Ross.
Yes. I don't have any questions, but I've been on the White Pine County School Safety Committee meetings since it began. And I'm still actually visited it once in a while. But I do notice that the teachers, especially the new teachers, and definitely the substitute teachers need to understand the plan. That would help the emergency services tremendously if we get them to buy on it more seriously, I guess.
Good point there, Ross. Any other questions for Megan? If not, she can start her journey back to Nevada from New Mexico with new tires. Okay, I'll close item number 8 and we'll go to item number 9. This discussion of potential legislative requests for the 2023 session. Solicit input from the Committee on Legislative Needs related to Emergency Management and Homeland Security for the upcoming session. Does anybody have any items that they'd like to daylight here that they think we should work on besides what you're already kind of aware of with the HIPAA stuff we're looking at doing? Okay, hearing none. Obviously, you know my phone number, you know John's phone number, you know our emails. Get back to us if you have any ideas or any places where we can collaborate and work better together. I'll close that item. We'll go on to number 10. This is a grant status report, discussion only with Suze Coyote. Suze will provide the committee with the quarterly grant report, which outlines spending status on open grants. Ms. Coyote.
Hi, everyone. You'll see in your grant packet, agenda item number 10, how it's the attached narrative report and fiscal report for the grant years 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021 for Homeland Security Grant Program. Just a brief overview, the narrative portion of your quarterly progress reports and the fiscal in the back, the spend down on those grants year to year. If you have any questions on anything in this report, feel free to reach out to me at my email, scoyote@dem.nv.gov. And I'd be happy to address any questions you have.
Awesome. Thank you, ma'am. Does anyone have any questions for Suze? Okay, we'll move on to item number 11. This is Nevada Public Health Preparedness Program. DT, who is unable to be with us today, but he has Rachel or Emily on board. They can talk about any public health preparedness efforts they have going on in the state, including their new manager's day.
Yes, good morning, everyone. This is Emily Gold from State PHP. So DT is out of the office doing site visits in Southern Nevada. So if you have not heard, Danielle Allen, DT is our new public health preparedness program manager, and we're super excited to have him in this position. You probably are already familiar with him as he's been working as a part of PHP for the past quite a few years, actually, in the training officer position, but he's now replacing Melinda Southard as our new manager. So it's very exciting. And then just a few quick updates for you guys. We're working on drought planning with a workshop and exercise dates to come. Also working on pod resupply for the upcoming flu season. We do have a new rotation starting next year. So more information on that to come. We're still kind of working out all the details with that. We're also working in an ICS structure for our monkeypox response, just to support vaccine, therapeutic, and information sharing across the state, just monitoring the situation, seeing how it progresses, and working with our local health authorities to see what we can do to support everyone in those efforts. And then just continuing staffing our ESF 8 desk response, making sure that RFs are being processed, people are getting the supplies that they need, getting those COVID tests still. It's still an issue. So just working through normal things like that. But unless there are any questions, that's the end of our report for you today.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Emily. Does anyone have any questions for Emily? Okay, seeing none, I'll close that agenda item. We'll go to item number 12. And this is diversity, equity, inclusion, access, and functional needs integration. Discussion only from Heather Lafferty, CDC's disability preparedness specialist, who's been detailed to DEM for about a year. She's going to provide an overview of how the efforts to ensure diversity, equity, and inclusion, along with access functional needs, are included in all parts of emergency management. I know that she got into a class today, but I'm hoping she got out of class for the presentation. If not, we're gonna have to table it for next month. And it looks like she didn't get out of class like she was hoping to at a lot. So I apologize. We'll table this one for next month, and we'll get Heather back, and we'll do it again. So that way we can continue that conversation about how we make sure that we're meeting everyone's needs. We'll go to item number 14 now, since we did 13 earlier. Item number 14 is FEMA audit results for the federal fiscal year 2022. With Jared Franco, the committee will receive a briefing on the various audits that we've undergone related to COVID, HSGP, and emergency management performance grants. I asked Jared to highlight some of these because I know that we sometimes get into your business pretty well with our monitoring visits. And so I wanted to share some of the monitoring visits that we get and some of the audits that we get that sum up everyone's stuff so we understand how we do business and that we're being held just as accountable as we're asked to hold you accountable. So Jared has the floor.
Good morning, committee members and guests. For the record, my name is Jared Franco. The Division of Emergency Management undergoes yearly federal monitoring and state auditing because of the visibility, sensitive material, and duties our division is tasked with accomplishing. Currently, we are undergoing a state audit by the Nevada's contracted CPA firm, Bailey, for the warehouses we ran and controlled during the pandemic. This state audit has been going on since FY21 and should be wrapping up after their next site visit to the Las Vegas warehouse next month. As of now, we don't see any issues coming from the audit and hope to officially be out of the warehouse business by 1 October. Starting in 2021, Nevada's contracted CPA firm, Bailey, conducted an audit on our disaster grants or public assistance. The audit lasted for months, finally wrapping up in the July of 2022, with the only finding that needed corrective action was reporting the grant dollar amount received to the Federal Subaward Reporting System, or FSRS, in a timely manner to ensure compliance with the Federal Funding, Accountability, and Transparency Act. I give kudos to the disaster recovery team for doing such a great job with that grant. Those grants, numerous grants. Back in April of 2022, 4 personnel from the FEMA Region 9 staff were here in the DEM office for 5 days conducting an on-site financial monitoring review of numerous different grants, including both the 2017 flood disaster grants, 4307 and 4303, our COVID disaster recovery grant, which is disaster 4523, our 2019 and 2021 emergency management program grant, our 2019 and 2020 Homeland Security Grant Program, as well as our 2020 nonprofit Homeland Security Grant Program. We expect to have the results and findings from the monitoring visit by the end of this week. Also, starting today, our preparedness officer, Dale Finney from FEMA, who oversees Nevada's Homeland Security Grant Program suite, will be monitoring our program. He'll be auditing HSGP years FY17 through FY20 to ensure compliance with Code of Federal Regulations and program guidance. As you can see, our division has been pretty inundated with monitorings and audits the past couple of years. And due to our growth and visibility that we will be seeing, we don't expect it to slow down anytime soon. And I foresee this agenda item being a standing agenda item at least once a quarter for each fiscal year moving forward. That's all I have on this agenda item. If anyone has any questions or comments.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Franco. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns for Jared? Okay, seeing no one raise your hand and no one unmute, I'll close that agenda item. We'll go on to number 15. This is a closing public comment, our second time to be able to talk. No action may be taken upon a matter raised on the item of this agenda until the matter itself has been specifically included on the agenda as an item upon which action may be taken. Any public comment? Okay, talkative group today. If you're on your phone, *6 to unmute yourself. We'll move to item number 16 then, seeing no public comment. This is Chief Samuel's favorite agenda item of the day. I'll take a motion for adjournment.
Bob Denhart, so move.
Jeannie,
Okay,
3 seconds.
first from Bob, a second from Jeannie. Any discussion? All those want to go home, say yay.
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 Anybody wants to stay forever, say nay. Thank you guys all very much. Remember, open to any feedback that you want to give us. That way we can improve how we help you.